to really see something that said, take a look what happened. I was saved by God to make America great again.
Welcome back to another 4547blog.com presentation of the New Conservative Radio Show. I'm your host, Ninj, and you can catch us on iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, and everywhere else you get your major podcasts. Find our reruns on YouTube, and we go live every Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern on Rumble. Our social media handle is 4547blog, and we're on X, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Stop by 4547blog.com to donate to the show, buy our digital blogazine, or get geared up at the merch store. We got a lot to get into today, folks. We got the lawfare that the left started. We have activist judges and them being punished and arrested. Amazing. We have the Democrats and they're just deemed delusional. And then we have the due process argument for this Kilmar Garcia in El Salvador. But let's get right into it. Go ahead and roll this first clip.
E. Jean Carroll alleges Trump raped her, you know this story, but can't remember the year. Alleges she was wearing a dress that hadn't been created yet at the time, and has a story that is identical to an episode of a popular TV show, but New York Democrats changed the law so that E. Jean Carroll could take $90 million from Donald Trump in a court system that's just as ridiculous as you know New York's is.
If you have to make up a law in order to press charges, then there's something fishy. I smell something fishy. I found this article by the 19thnews.org from around the time, and the headline is, How a New Law Allowed E. Jean Carroll to Seek Justice Against Trump Years Later. It says, survivors of sexual assault and advocates helped pass the Adult Survivors Act in New York that was instrumental to Carroll's civil case. They hope more people will file claims under the law, an option that expires in 6 months. Have you ever heard of a law that expires in 6 months that allows somebody to press charges against another person? Ow! I haven't, and because they had to manipulate the law, it took all credibility of this case directly out of my mind. And not only that, but the facts don't even line up. She was wearing a dress that didn't even exist. She said that it happened in a very highly populated area where all she had to do was just make any kind of a noise and somebody would have came to her aid. But this article goes on to say, a new law in New York is behind the civil lawsuit behind E. Jean Carroll against Donald Trump. The survivors hope the spotlight put on it by this week's verdict against the former president means more people might use it. It says the law opened a one-time window for adult sexual assault survivors in New York to file a civil case against an abuser or institution that protected the abuser, no matter when the assault took place, even if it's outside the statute of limitations, but the window expires in 6 months. Knowing that they're going to bring a case against Donald Trump and then they create a law that eliminates the statute of limitations, that's just pretty fishy to me. And not only did this happen, but we had Letitia James. Let's not forget about that situation. Let's go ahead and roll this next clip.
As Tish James built this ridiculous case against Trump, documents indicate she was actively engaging in real estate fraud herself and had plenty more in her past. Think about what kind of person, what kind of sociopath can put this case together knowing this about herself. This isn't revenge on Tish James. This is justice. She's about to be swallowed by the trap that she created herself. And now she's blaming us. She's blaming conservative media for all this, saying it's all just a ruse.
But that's the theme with the Democrats, is it's everyone else's fault all the time. And if they catch you doing something, then they're going to point the finger and they're going to let everybody know. But if they're doing something wrong, then they want you to be quiet. And then they're going to try to play the victim. The fact of the matter is that Letitia James claimed primary residence in Norfolk, Virginia, when she was required to have residency in New York for the Attorney General position that she carries. And this was 2 years ago on a 2023 mortgage application in Virginia. I found this article by Fox News. It says New York AG's office hires attorney that represented Hunter Biden to defend Letitia James against fraud accusations. It says Letitia James has been accused for falsifying records to obtain favorable loans. The same exact thing that she was pressing charges or pursuing charges against Donald Trump for, costing him $400 million. I hope it costs her something around the same. The article goes on to say the New York Attorney General's office has hired high-powered attorney Abe Lowell to defend Attorney General Letitia James against fraud accusations being levied against her. Why would the New York Attorney General's office hire an attorney for Letitia James? That's something that she should be paying for out of her own pocket, don't we all think? But it says, it is unclear whether taxpayer dollars are going towards James' defense, as the Attorney General's office stopped answering questions once Fox News Digital began asking about how Lowell would be compensated. How many New Yorkers are happy to hear that their tax dollars are going to be going to the defense of Letitia James? How many New Yorkers want to pay taxes so that they can defend Letitia James after she turned our justice system into a mockery and used it as lawfare against our President of the United States of America? The current state of the judiciary across the United States is a fucking sham, and people are waking up to it. Let's go ahead and roll this next clip.
This is how she defended herself. Watch.
Let me just say to all New Yorkers and to all Americans, the allegations are baseless. The allegations are nothing more than a revenge tour. I will not be silenced. I will not be bullied. I will not bend. I will not break. And I will not bow to anyone. No one is above the law, including the President of these United States. So let me just say that, Errol, you know, as any good attorney, I will not litigate this case in a camera.
All right, you're laughing, but why?
When you create a precedent to press charges on somebody in a situation that has never called for charges in the past, and then you don't have your own backyard clean, isn't this karma instead of revenge? How is it baseless and that you won't be silenced? Nobody's trying to silence you. We want to hear your side. You're not being bullied. You're being held to a standard that every other American has been held to. Donald Trump in 2024 was ordered to pay $454 million for a civil fraud judgment with this Letitia James bullshit in New York for falsely inflating the value of his property. In a statement to Newsweek, Letitia James said, "You've got some of his followers, these MAGAs, Republicans, very conservative individuals who obviously have done a lot of digging into my background and have come up with some baseless allegations. Now they want to turn the tide on me, and we will respond accordingly." Nobody wants to turn the tide on you, Letitia, but if you don't follow the law, which is pretty evident that you're living in New York since you're the Attorney General in New York, and then you claim to be a full-time resident of Norfolk, Virginia, that's a lie. And you're not above the law. Nobody's above the law, as you've stated many, many times. Let's go ahead and roll this next clip.
James claimed her father was her husband to secure another cheaper loan. And there are also allegations of campaign finance violations for spending New York taxpayer money to fly private on bougie campaign trips.
Sounds to me like Ilhan Omar and Letitia James have a lot in common. This article by Law and Crime, the headline states that Trump admin alleges Letitia James committed multiple instances of mortgage fraud, including claim her and her father signed docs stating they were husband and wife. Ow! So not only is Letitia James pretending that her father is her husband on paper, but her father is actually playing along and signing the papers also. What kind of family is this? It doesn't surprise me at all that Letitia James is the kind of sick puppy that she is if her father is willing to commit fraud to help his daughter. I'm willing to help my daughter as much as I possibly can, but to break the law and to jeopardize my own freedom so that she could get a house or something, I'm never, ever going to do that. That makes absolutely no sense. The fact that these people are willing to do that while they're pressing charges and trying to pursue a case that has never, ever been brought in court before against our president, Donald Trump, it says a lot about her character, and she's just a dirty piece of shit. Let's go ahead and get on to this next clip.
She's complaining. She wants sympathy because her family's being harassed. I mean, how rich How unbelievably rich. And this isn't retaliation, Tish. You're sleeping in the bed that you made. The Wall Street Journal editorial board calling it the Lawfare boomerang. Her civil prosecution of Mr. Trump for overvaluing his assets was a weak case in which there was no real victim. Again, the bank testified on Trump's behalf, but she kept saying no one is above the law.
She sat in front of the American people, the entire country, and touted this. Hey, no one's above the law. No one's above the law. We need to hold him accountable for something that no one ever has been accountable for ever in the history of America. All the while, she downplays the size of the property, the number of units. She said only had 4 when it's actually a 5-plex. The lying about her father and her being husband and wife. Her living in New York, but saying that her primary residence is in Virginia. This woman has no morals. She has no character. Well, her character is showing. It's a piece of shit character. She has no good qualities to her character because she's a fucking piece of shit. DEI is literally polishing a turd, and at the end of it, it might be shiny, but you still have a turd that smells like shit. And that's Letitia James. She got put in a position that she has no business being in, and she's making a mockery of the position.
It's ironic that she wanted to go after Trump. She said, I'm going to get Trump, and then she said, no one's above the law. But now the narrative is the Trump administrations are the bully. They're coming after me. But isn't that kind of what she was doing as the Attorney General, going after Trump?
She ran for office on the promise she would find crimes.
It's funny when she has the power that nobody's above the law. But when the eyes are looking back at her, then she's being bullied and now she's a victim. Let's remember that Letitia James was an attorney general back in 2001. She ran for governor of New York, failed, didn't get elected, then ran for a second term as AG, and was backed by George Soros. She has George Soros money. This has been a ploy for many years with George Soros and his money to work against Donald Trump. And it's still happening to this day. Seems to me like when you don't have a clean backyard and you pick up stones to cast them at other people, they fly right back at your face and knock you out with a boomerang rock. It's called karma. Ow! She has no room to talk, no room to charge, no room to try to have pressed these charges on Donald Trump, which she did, and she got away with it. $454 million, guys. I pray that $454 million worth of fines hit her. What comes around goes around. She is in no place to be casting judgment upon Donald Trump when she is doing worse than what she accused him of doing. Not only did she inflate for favorable terms, she said she was married to her fucking dad. Said that she had a smaller place than it really is. They undervalued Mar-a-Lago, saying that it was only $18 million. Anybody with money that has that money, if they found out Mar-a-Lago was for sale for $18 million, would jump all over it. Plenty of people have made that comment. The weird thing about this whole situation is that she was saying that she was going to find charges against Donald Trump when she was running for her second term as the Attorney General in New York. How she was able to literally charge Donald Trump with something that nobody else in the state of New York has ever been tried for is mind-boggling to me. Like, how can these prosecutors, how can these judges twist the laws in order to work for their political agenda and not be held accountable for this? There's no judges, no higher judges like the Supreme Court that can look down on these other judges and say, you know what, you're out of here. You're out of here. We don't have an internal affairs program that kind of looks over these people and makes sure that they're staying within the bounds of the law with their judgments. And if we do, then who are these people? They're not doing their job. We need to figure this out, and we need to figure it out quick because the judiciary is out of control. Let's go ahead and move on.
Federal prosecutors say Milwaukee County Circuit Court Judge Hannah Dugan allegedly helped that migrant avoid arrest by ICE officers at the courthouse. Judge Dugan then escorted Flores Ruiz and his counsel out of the courtroom through the jury door, which leads to a non-public area of the courthouse. A foot chase ensued. The agents pursued Flores Ruiz for the entire length of the courthouse and ultimately apprehended him. According to this complaint, Judge Dugan was visibly angry that ICE was there to arrest Flores Ruiz, even tried to kick the deportation agents out of the courthouse.
You cannot obstruct a criminal case, and really, shame on her. It was a domestic violence case of all cases, and she's protecting a criminal defendant over victims of crime.
When you are a law enforcement agent or a person enforcing law, you are there to serve and to protect. And with the victims of the crimes that this guy has been charged with sitting in her courtroom, why is she so struck by ICE coming to her courtroom to take this guy away? Was she not planning on putting him in jail after beating up a woman? It seems to me that the message that these liberal judges are trying to send across the country is that if you're an illegal immigrant, you pretty much have free reign of America and you can do whatever you want. And if you're an American citizen, you better follow the laws to the T, or you're going to go to jail if you riot or anything, if you're politically to the right, that is. If you're a liberal, nothing will happen to you. It's great to see things changing and that the FBI is going after this guy, or this fucking piece of shit bitch. Kash Patel is doing his job. Let's hope this is a continuing theme, that we continue to arrest these people and hold them accountable for taking their office and turning it into something political. Taking their powers or their positions and turning it into something political. That is not the intent of these positions, and it should never be used in that manner. There used to be integrity, honor, and respect, even if we had different political views. And I feel like conservatives and Republicans still have that, and the Democrats lost it long ago. Now let's go ahead and roll this next clip.
This guy was in court being prosecuted by a state prosecutor for domestic violence battery. He had beat up two people, a guy and a girl, hit the guy 30 times, knocked him to the ground, choked him, beat up a woman so badly they both had to go to the hospital. And John, you know, it's so rare for victims to want to cooperate. They wanted to cooperate. They were sitting in the courtroom with the state prosecutor. The judge learns that ICE was outside to get the guy because he had been deported in 2013, came back in our country, commits these crimes, charged with committing these crimes, victims in court.
Those sound like felonies to me. Anybody who's ever been to jail or knows somebody who's been to jail or, you know, committed crimes like these, even if it's his first time, he's going to be facing 4 years if he was an American citizen in prison. How could a judge stand behind somebody like that and try to help them escape from ICE that's going to take them out of the country so that our taxpayer money isn't going to have to pay to house and imprison this guy? ICE is going to take him and take him back to his own country, and he's not going to be a problem to us anymore. We'll take his name down, and he'll never be able to enter America again, especially since it's his second time being caught after he was already deported. America is a society of immigrants, but we don't want your scum. We want your best and your brightest. We want people who are going to come to America, have pride in America, and assimilate into our culture. Learn English and follow our laws. Be productive members of our society. We don't want these people. America doesn't need more criminals. We have enough crime problems in our inner cities to deal with. We don't need to import more crime. We have enough people on our social systems and programs. We don't need to import more. We don't need to keep importing problems to our country. We really, really need to work on our own infrastructure, our own economy, our own selves. It sounds real selfish, but we've been holding the hands of the rest of the world for so fucking long. It's about time that we get a president who does care about America and makes America great again, or pushes towards that. If we don't make America great now, well, at least we're in that direction. At least we're making the changes that are going to take us there in the future. We need to make the sacrifices, and we are. Donald Trump is a strong president, the strongest president in my lifetime. And again, like I've said in my previous episodes, this guy has not changed his mind for decades. He's stood behind his values, stood behind his morals, and this is why we continue to re-elect him. If you're a liberal and you're listening to this and you just can't wrap your head around it still for some fucking reason, like half of you guys out there on social media, it's because he says something and then he does it. It's a promise made, a promise kept. Let's go ahead and roll this next clip.
She put the lives of our law enforcement officers at risk. She put the lives of citizens at risk. A street chase, which is absurd that had to happen. But yes, she put a lot of people in danger. That judge did it. So did the other judge. Judge Cano is charged with. They were allegedly giving him assault rifles, AK-47s, AR-15s, with a suppressor, a known TDA member, letting him go to a shooting range to refine and perfect his shooting skills.
These judges are all over our nation, acting wild, taking their powers for granted, working against Americans and American people. The one from Wisconsin, the lady, she literally was doing that stuff in front of the victims of this guy. They were sitting in the courtroom while she was leading him through a jury door and telling him to get out of there while ICE was waiting outside of the courtroom. The judge from New Mexico, Judge Cano, had a Tren de Aragua gang member living at his house. He was giving this kid AR-15s and AK-47s with suppressors and sending him to the shooting range to get better at shooting. Why? What is the point in that? Were they family members? Is the judge somehow involved in TDA? How is it that these people have been put into positions to judge other people's lives when they don't have 1 ounce of integrity? When they don't have 1 ounce of loyalty to this country? They take an oath and swear an oath to this country. For what? What did it mean? It didn't mean anything. The worst part about the whole thing is that the political left can't detach themselves from these crazy fucking people, and they have to keep owning it. I mean, it's not bad for the Republicans or conservatives like us, but it's terrible for those people who kind of have their head on their shoulders, because there are some Democrats who are a little bit intelligent. They just feel like the Democrat Party is where it's at, and there's nothing that the Democrat Party could do that would make them move away from the Democrat Party. Everything that they say about MAGA, literally everything that the Democrats say, they're just projecting on us. Everything they say about Make America Great Again and the MAGA movement and how we're a cult and all this bullshit. Nationalism isn't a cult. Nationalism means you love your country, and there ain't nothing wrong with that. You can't always equate nationalism to the fucking Nazis. And it's funny how every time you turn around, these people are like, oh, you're a Nazi, when they're the ones who barely know any information and they follow it like a fucking cult. Not only that, but then you'll have some left-winger, after they lose over and over and over again, grab a topic from the right and then try to own it and say, hey, you know, actually, we've always been for this or for that. Let's go ahead and roll the next clip.
Hakeem Jeffries is simultaneously putting his party back on track with moderates while trying to keep all these people in the country at the same time. What a con artist. Now claiming with a straight face that Democrats do, of course, want a strong border.
We definitely have to be clear that we believe that we should have a secure border.
If the Democrats actually believed that bullshit, we would have had a secure border during the 4 years of Joe Biden's presidency. He wouldn't have reversed Trump's policies. He wouldn't have stopped building the wall. The fact of the matter is that the Democrat Party has been disenfranchising millions of people who have immigrated here from other countries the correct way, that had to wait years, 10 years, to get into the country and to live the American dream. And all they could think about the entire time that they were waiting to get approval was about being here and about how they would improve their life once they got here. Unlike the millions of illegal immigrants that just walked across our border or filled out some kind of bullshit on an app and then walked across our border, got a free cell phone, got food stamps, got free hotels, got a bus ride to whatever city they wanted to go to in America. And we don't even do this for veterans when they come back from a war and fought for our country watch their brothers and sisters in arms die. This is insane. Like, how do we treat non-citizens better than we treat our own citizens? This is what the Democrat Party leads us to, and this is what the entire country has rebuked. We will never go through this again. Let's roll this next clip.
As an immigrant myself, I find it ironic we're putting so much effort. In one case in El Salvador, when we have about 1.5 million highly skilled workers that are on backlog that we want to have in our country, and some of them have to be centers, scientists, artists, people like me that spend 10 years waiting to be naturalized as a citizen through the right process. Imagine if that same energy was put into repatriating that brain drain that we have. But the priorities, get politicized, and we're chasing a ghost while we're losing talent to Canada, the UK, Australia, whatever, where a lot of these merit-based migrants go, because we haven't figured that out for our own nation. So it's ironic, and those of us that have followed the process feel the pain of the double standard that comes with this kind of story.
All the illegal immigration that took place during the Biden administration only pissed off the legal immigrants in this country, people who put massive amounts of time and effort into being naturalized as a citizen the correct way. And the left has been constantly spewing, well, we need to create a way where these people can come. But the thing is that we've always had the way for these people to come. We are a nation of immigrants, so we figured out how to bring immigrants in since the beginning. The laws have changed, but there is a way. There has been a way. You come through a port of entry if you're going to seek asylum. The problem is that people were on this CBP app and they were just claiming asylum for any old reason, like the Garcia guy. He was claiming asylum because he was afraid that if he goes back to El Salvador that other gangs are going to want to kill him, but then he's not a gang member in the left's eyes. None of this stuff makes sense, and there's nothing you can do to make it make sense because the left has lost their fucking minds. Let's roll the next clip.
Today, we have a Democrat Party that's no longer loyal to the country. They've made that clear. They view the United States as simply the funding mechanism for a greater global coalition. They have grandiose plans for your country, which involve your safety and quality of life decreasing dramatically for the betterment of the larger coalition.
As long as the Democrats can use your back, your taxpayer money, to prop up other countries or prop up their party and sell us out as Americans, we the people as Americans will never succeed. We will be on our steady downhill decline as a country until we do become a third world country. If the Democrats had their way, they would sell us out tomorrow. This is a party that's taken the 20% or less position on every single stance right now that Trump is trying to enforce in America. They don't want illegal immigration. They don't want DEI to be removed. They don't want Social Security reform. They don't want DOGE. What do they want? There is nothing that the Democrats are advocating for that the American people actually want. We won as a majority, and the Democrats are continuously trying to push their agenda still without power. It's not very surprising because when you corner a rat, what is it going to do? It's going to try to fucking bite you. And that's exactly what they are. They're Democrats. Pieces of shit, dumbasses, jackasses. They've got the jackass as their political party mascot. Because the Republicans back in the day used to call them all jackasses, and they embraced it. That's why. They're like, yeah, we are jackasses, and they made the mascot of their fucking party the donkey. So if you sat down with a Republican from the days of old and you told them what was going on now, I bet you they wouldn't be too surprised because they already know that the Democrats are dumb fucking idiots and their policies are terrible for America. But if you've got one party, you always have to have the opposite. And the problem is that even if the Democrats have advocated for a policy or think that a policy is good for America, if Trump takes that stance, they're going to fight against it because they can't move a positive agenda forward. They can't allow Trump to get any wins. They can't work with him at all. But we sit idle when they're in presidency and we work with them to progress policy for the American people. We do the opposite. There's a lot of rhinos, absolutely, but the Republican Party, we all know who's working for us. These politicians are tools, like Dan Bongino said, and if you're not using these politicians as a tool and you're just praising who they are, even Donald Trump, then you're in the game in the wrong way. You need to vote as if these people are a tool and believe or try to put the person in that you believe is going to implement their promises. The only promise or the only president in my lifetime that has literally gone balls to the wall with everything that they said is Donald Trump. Back in the day, George W. Bush, he campaigned on read my lips, no more taxes. I know we all remember that, everybody who's old enough. Donald Trump has made so many promises, and within the first 100 days, he's delivered. We've got the left so stirred up, they don't even know what to do with themselves right now.
You could be disappeared for reading a banned book. You could be disappeared for practicing diversity, equity, and inclusion. You could be disappeared for co-authoring an op-ed.
So to recap, Donald Trump deports somebody from another country here illegally, and now according to that logic right there, Donald Trump is also going to start deporting people for reading books or having a miscarriage.
And somehow this rhetoric computes to the people listening to this bullshit on the left. Because Donald Trump is deporting illegal immigrant criminals, we're going to start deporting people for reading books. Like, how does that even make sense to this lady? How does that make sense to the people listening to it? Because I know I just watched that clip and I go, what the fuck is she talking about? But the left goes, oh my God, she's right. Like, how do these people's brains work? How could you justify this point of view in your own head? This doesn't make any fucking sense. You take an illegal immigrant who got picked up in Maryland. He was a wife beater, beat the shit out of his wife, and they are acting like he's some kind of fucking saint that was going to church every Sunday and was an altar boy and was doing volunteer work at the fucking homeless shelter or something. Like, this was a MS-13 gang member that beat up his wife, that did human trafficking, that came into the country illegally, that broke our laws, and they want to bring him home. There are literal Congress people in El Salvador picketing for this dude to come back to America. When he's an El Salvadorian citizen, he has never had American citizenship. He hasn't even carried a visa because he was an illegal immigrant. How in the year 2025 does this make sense to people? How in the year 2025 are we still advocating for some dumb shit when we have all the information of all the humans in the entire world, of our entire history in our hand? How are the left so fucking dumb? Most days I think it's hilarious how stupid and immature and ignorant these fucking idiots on the left are, but today I'm not. I'm offended. I can't believe the state of the Democratic Party. I can't believe that nobody in that fucking party can step up and be a leader and slap the ever-loving shit out of all the idiots in their fucking party and get some direction going on. These people are trying to push transgender issues. Like, what good does the Democrat Party advocate for? List something good that could help American people that the Democrat Party is advocating for right now. There's like zero policies in place or zero policies that they're trying to fight for that would help the American people. The only thing they're doing is literally trying to put up a roadblock to every policy Trump is implementing. The fact of the matter is the Democrats have nothing to offer. Their policies are empty. Their statements are empty. The things that they're fighting for are not what the American people care about at all. A rebrand would be great for them, but I hope they keep it up for our sake. The longer they keep up the shenanigans, the longer we can hold office, make a difference, maybe make America great again. Let's go ahead and roll this next clip.
What sensible Democrat would want to be a part of this party? Why would they leave their job to roll the dice on David Hogg? People are realizing that Republicans are the party of production with real people at the helm who have produced things like Scott Bessent, Elon Musk, Howard Lutnick, obviously Donald Trump. Families and church and jobs and fair trade, limited government, maximum freedom. And Democrats have a bunch of people who have written articles and papers about things, but few, if any, have actually done anything. For most of the party, they're just throwing lawn darts of bad policies up in the air, hoping they can run away fast enough before it hits them in the head.
It's sad that that statement is both funny and true. Like, the Democrats have been shooting themselves in the foot. But again, this is exactly what we need. This is exactly what we want. Ever since they cheated and got Joe Biden put into office and then put up Camel Toe Harris and Tampon Tim Walz, like, the people that they choose to be the frontliners, to be the face of their party, like, who is choosing these people? And then David Hogg, this young kid that they bring in, he immediately hits up everybody on the Democrat donor list and gets them to start donating to his super PAC. Ow! I'm sure there were so many people in the party that were just amazingly happy about that, no? The people involved in and the character of the Democrat Party is something that is un-American at this point. America used to be about something called civil discourse. If we had a problem, we would sit down and we would hash it out. We would have a debate. This is something that the Democrat Party will not do anymore. They didn't even want to do debates with Donald Trump because guess what? Donald Trump exposed their bullshit. None of their policies and none of their agenda can stand up to the scrutiny of a good debate. And it's been proven time after time after time. If you watch the Jubilee debates, or if you know Charlie Kirk, or if you watch Louder with Crowder and the Change My Mind segments that he used to do, nothing the liberals advocate for can stand up to the scrutiny of a good debate. And that's just the truth. So many times, time after time, you've watched clips on YouTube or on Instagram or whatever fucking social media you're on. You've seen it over and over and over again. These people stand up with such great confidence that they're going to shut the conservative host down. And then they get up to the mic and they say their dumb shit, and the conservative host every single time slaps them down with facts and common sense. And that's how you beat these people. They don't have the facts. They don't have the common sense. All they have is parrot mouths, and they parrot everything that the media says, even if the mainstream media is wrong, which is 90% of the time now. CNN, MSNBC, ABC, we all know they're all the same fucking outlet, basically. So if you turn the channel to one, you're basically watching all of them. Let's roll the next clip.
The response to conservatives' desire to have their point of view represented in the country, in the media, and in the White House has been met with scorn, derision, and censorship. This speaks to the fundamental unfairness of leftists who dominate the press. Their unfairness, insecurity, and dark designs for our people. In short, the left's ideas of winning a debate is silencing the other side.
And this is what they do every single time that they're asked to engage in debate. They just want to silence you. They want to shut you down, shut you off, and not allow you to speak anymore because they don't want your voice to be heard. They're all freedom of speech until the speech is against them or against their ideas. Then they think that the speech should be censored, just like Meta and Mark Zuckerberg and everything that's happened with them, and all conservative people who were involved in YouTube and any of the social media during the pandemic or before, during Joe Biden. Look at the universities. How did we get to this state of America? And the problem is that, yeah, the Democrat Party, they're all fucked up and that's all good. But why were the Republicans not checking this? Why were the Republicans just sitting idly by and watching it happen? If you ask me, we need to vote out any politician that's been in for multiple terms. They need to get the fuck out of government. We need a fresh pair of eyes, ears, and hands on everything. We have a new conservative movement, and there's a lot of young conservatives that are running for office around this country that have been and will continue to run in the future. Amazingly, the young people are waking up. The young population is looking around and getting their first paychecks and going, God dang, Uncle Sam sure is taking a lot from me, and what can I do to change that? And that's vote. It's great to see it happening, and it's going to continue to happen in the future as long as the Democrats keep playing the cards that they're playing. We don't want to reshuffle. We're sitting Trump tight over here. Nothing to change. We got a fat old hand, and we're going to play every card in the best way that we can. And the problem that they're having is that they don't have any good cards, and they know that they're going to lose. They're sitting there looking at their hand and sweating, and they keep on betting and betting and betting and bluffing, and they know they're going to lose it all at the end of the hand when everything's cashed in. And that time is coming. The Democrat leaders of Trump's first term, they're nowhere to be found. Where's Nancy Pelosi? Where's Jerry Nadler? Where's Chuck Schumer? Where's Adam Schiff? The front runners of the Democrat Party right now are Bernie Sanders and AOC. People who were main leaders in the Democrat Party have taken and fallen to the wayside. They played out their hand, and the American people know that they're just a joke, like Pocahontas here.
Little Lizzie is completely broken, no political future. She is a national punchline in every single state except maybe parts of Massachusetts, and I'm saying maybe. You would also think that NPR, National Public Radio, who is on the verge of losing hundreds of millions of dollars in federal funding as a result of decades of biased, anti-conservative coverage, might at least try to appear unbiased over the next couple of weeks.
Me personally, with the invention of the internet, I don't think that taxpayer money should be going to PBS or NPR. The internet, you have so many free educational programs that there's no need for our fucking taxpayer money to be going to these things. And the way that they ended up being, they're totally biased. It's supposed to be a non-biased programming, and it's totally biased. And then also PBS is supposed to be non-profit, but they play commercials. I've seen McDonald's commercials being played on PBS even when I was a kid, and that's against the regulations and how they get government funding. That's why they're being investigated right now, and I totally think that Congress should just defund them and they should go away completely. In the year 2025, there is no need for a subsidized media, radio or TV. With the invention of the internet, we don't need it, not here in America. In the year 2025, the only reason why a government would fund radio or a TV media outlet is just to run propaganda. And that's all that PBS is doing. It's not a non-biased program. They don't run anything that's pro-right-wing anything. Everything is always about the left, and it's been this way for years. I used to listen to NPR 4, 5, 6 years ago or so while I was working. And I'd literally have to turn it off because they were so fucking biased against Donald Trump during his first term. I'm curious to know what you guys think, so if you think we should continue to fund NPR or PBS, please put a comment below. The other brain rot that's just infecting the left right now is the due process. I've seen it all over social media and everything that has to do with Abrego Garcia. It's that Obama did due process, but Trump didn't use due process. Obama deported 3 million people. Trump is at like 1.2, and that's being like on the high side. With no difference in their policies, they were both deporting illegal immigrants, people who were overstaying their visas or who were illegally in the country, didn't come in through a port of entry. The argument of due process is an absolute joke. Let's go ahead and roll this next clip.
Every person in our country deserves due process, and we want to make sure that we draw the line here at Kilmar Garcia because it's not just about him.
He's an illegal alien. He's an illegal alien. Who's from El Salvador? Molly?
I just cannot believe how blessed the Republican Party and Donald Trump are in who their political opponents are.
I couldn't say it any better. We cannot be more blessed with who our political opponents are. These people are taking, like I said, the 20% on an 80-20 issue, and they're constantly getting their asses kicked. They're getting their ass handed to them because they don't know how to pick good policies. They don't know how to stand behind something that's actually worth standing behind.
You have seen Democrat elected officials who swear an oath to stand up for their constituents and law-abiding American citizens spending more time advocating for illegal alien criminals, gangbangers, and wife-beaters in the case of Abrego Garcia from Maryland.
So Kilmar Abrego Garcia, this upstanding citizen, had a restraining order put on him by his wife, and in that restraining order she wrote, "I told him to give me his card to pay. He got angry, started insulting me. Once leaving there," I guess it's really hard to read. It says something about putting gas in. And it says, "Once leaving there, he pulled out like crazy. I started recording because I was scared of the way he was driving and because our 1-year-old was in the back seat. In the recording, you can hear him yelling, insulting me, driving extremely fast on 5/4/2021 at 1 o'clock. I was watching my laptop and he yelled to turn it off. I told him I wasn't sleepy. He got angry, reached over, shut and threw my laptop on the floor, and the baby started to cry because he was putting pressure on him. My immediate reaction was to push him off of us, and then he punched, scratched me on my left eye, leaving me bleeding. That same day at 2 p.m., he came home and to say he was going out with his friend. I told him that I needed to go to pick up some orders at BJ's. He got angry, started yelling again, to the point that he ripped my shirt and shorts off, and I ran to the bathroom. He ran behind me, grabbed me by my arm. I have marks on my left arm as well. He then left and came home at 12 p.m. Left my car parked in the neighborhood, and in the morning I asked him for the key, and he said he wasn't going to give it to me because he had things to do. Order Uber to leave with my kids because scared of him. Minutes later, he called that our car wasn't there anymore. At this point, I am afraid to be close to him. I have multiple photos, videos of how violent he can be, and all the bruises he has left on me. Written on 5/5/2021. Now, is this kind of man that the Democrats should be standing behind and trying to get back into the country? It seems like story after story of these illegal immigrants are just stories of them breaking our laws and making victims out of our citizens. Let's go ahead and run this Trump clip.
I'm saying they're criminals at the highest level, murderers. Many of those people murdered more than one person, and they're on the loose. And I was elected to get rid of those criminals, to get them out of our country, or to put them away, but to get them out of our country. And I don't see how judges can take that authority away from a president.
Trump was absolutely elected to get rid of these people. The Democrats keep forgetting that they're working against the will of the American people every time that they step up against the policies of the Trump administration. The rogue judges, they're beginning to get their comeuppance. Kash Patel and Pam Bondi at the DOJ and even Congress are going to start passing laws that are going to affect and remove the power of these judiciary fucking rogue idiots. This guy Kilmar was deemed to be an MS-13 gang member and put on the deportation list by 2 separate immigration judges. Then when he gets to El Salvador says, yep, you're Kilmar Garcia, you're an MS-13 gang member, you're going to CCOT. That had nothing to do with Trump. Trump didn't say, hey, you need to put this guy in CCOT. He sent him over there. And even if he did, he's a citizen of El Salvador, so they can do with him whatever they want. And they decided to put him in CCOT also. So we have 2 judges that are in America for immigration that deemed him an illegal immigrant, an MS-13 gang member, and a citizen of El Salvador. He goes to El Salvador, and the El Salvadorian government determines he's a gang member, and he is also a citizen of El Salvador. What's the problem with the due process?
Due process, we're told, is what they're so desperate to protect. Embarrassing for anybody that actually believes them. What we're really seeing is a collective effort by the left to save the most important scam that they have pulled on this country in decades. That is importing as many as 20 million people endlessly loyal to their party into our country and then spreading them all over into every single state, oftentimes in the middle of the night, as we saw. Did we really think that they were going to just sit back and let Trump send all of these people home? The open border scandal cost them the last election. It was a major investment for the Democrat Party. They're not going to just let this gargantuan, mission-critical scheme be reversed, and that is obvious.
And why would they, with the obvious downfall of the Democrat Party, with the obvious picking of terrible policies, why would they let this go easy? Just the same as they didn't want to let their slush fund at the USAID go. Just the same as they keep fighting everything that Trump is doing, because everything that Trump is trying to shut down is closing the walls, is making the corridor a little bit tighter for these Democrats to maneuver through. If there was no due process involved with this Kilmar guy, then how are they determining that he's a gang member? How would they determine that he is an El Salvadorian citizen? If they had no contact or no due process with this guy, how do they know these things about him? Did they just pull it out of thin air? I highly doubt it. The border czar himself, Tom Homan, has stated that this guy is an MS-13 gang member, and the leftist media still is calling him a Maryland man, and that he is a American citizen. They're posing as he's some kind of legal immigrant with a visa when he doesn't have a visa at all. He entered the country again illegally. But let's roll this clip with Tom Homan.
2 judges said he's an MS-13 member. ICE says he's an MS-13 member. Intelligence community says he's an MS-13 member. El Salvador says he's an MS-13 member.
Garcia was arrested in a gang sweep in connection to a murder investigation in a frequent gang area with 3 active members of MS-13.
I don't know what you think goes on, but gangs don't allow just anybody to come and do anything with them. He was arrested in connection to a murder. He beats his wife. He's been deemed an MS-13 gang member by multiple agencies, including his own country. That should be the end of the story, right? But it's not. The Democrats keep pounding their drum. And then Senator Van Hollen, the first Democrat politician to head down to El Salvador, started off some kind of a trend with the Democrats where they're all pandering to be justice warriors for an illegal gang member immigrant that's not even in the country anymore. They literally flew to El Salvador to go stand out of a prison and say, release the illegal immigrant of America. Bring that wife beater back to America so we can have due process. And then once we have due process, what if the due process says to deport him? Then what do? We take him right back to El Salvador? It's a big waste of time, big waste of money. But this is the thought process that goes through these Democrats' minds. And they wonder why everybody's not with it.
He's a domestic violence abuser. Kudos on the Trump administration for removing a criminal. Horrible on Senator Van Hollen for wanting to bring him back.
Not only was he gang-tied and interrogated over human and drug smuggling, in 2022, Homeland Security said he was a suspect in a human trafficking incident after he was pulled over with 8 other individuals in the vehicle.
Wow, so not only is he a wife beater, not only is an MS-13 gang member, not only was he being investigated with connection to a murder, but he's also a human trafficker. Like, this just keeps getting better and better. And I think that literally any other person, any other immigrant illegally entering this country would have been a better person for these people to stand up for. This is the hill that they're going to die on, the Kilmar Albrego Garcia hill, where the dude is just one of the fucking bottom feeders of society. Grandstand some more, Democrats. You couldn't really look any more stupid, so it doesn't really make a difference, right?
Ladies, get a guy who cares about you the way Van Hollen cares about MS-13. Van Hollen wouldn't even stand up for black kids with cancer. He walked out of Trump's State of the Union. Van Hollen voted against the Laken Riley Act. And now the esteemed senator from Maryland is demanding a caravan of Democrats descend into El Salvador and break an illegal out of prison like he's Nelson Mandela.
During his tenure in office, the Senator Van Hollen couldn't try to do something for his constituents instead of taking his ass down to El Salvador and trying to put a caravan or a protest of people together outside of a prison in another country to bring a citizen from another country to America. Congress needs to act. We need to start putting in bills and laws that stop people from doing this kind of stuff. This is literally traitorous behavior to our country. What does a person need to do to be labeled a traitor, arrested, and prosecuted nowadays? We are living in dangerous times, and the Spanish or the El Salvadorian or the gang member fucking immigrants aren't the only thing we have to worry about. There are plenty of Chinese immigrants that cross the border. They're saying something like 60,000 undocumented Chinese immigrants. Those are plenty of sleeper cells, and the sleeper cells that we know of. How many jihadis came in? How many Islamists, how many Muslims that hate America came into our country and are in a sleeper cell right now just waiting to be activated? No other country on the planet has open border policies and why America decided to become this open border policy country with all the enemies that we have all around the world, Joe Biden and the Democratic Party are traitors to our country. They let some of the most dangerous people in the world into our country. This behavior by Joe Biden, his administration, and everybody in the Democratic Party that backed him should never be forgiven and should never be forgotten.
Folks, we are living in a dangerous time, but there's a bunch of people out there who either refuse to admit it or actively impede sensible investigations into these things out of political correctness. And that's my concern here, because our law enforcement, they're comprised of good men and women. Same with our intelligence communities. And they have to be right 100% of the time. 1 million out of 1 million times, they have to do everything right. One terrorist has to get one thing right, one time out of one of those million times, for you to lose a mother, a father, a brother, a sister, or a child, or in the case of 9/11, 3,000 of them. So when I hear people complaining about Trump smoking 74 terrorist leaders who were planning attacks on U.S. soil, I ask them, whose side are you on? And get the hell out of my country. I joined the military to go have that fight on their shoulders, not ours. And yet we allow it to exist here under this bubble of political correctness.
The world is a dangerous place, and America has many enemies, and I think many, many people forget that because they don't go anywhere outside of America. They don't see any other countries. They don't immerse themselves in any other culture. They just pretend like they understand it. They pretend like they know that the Muslims don't want to kill America. They pretend like they know that being gay for Palestine is good. At Trump's joint session speech, the Democrats really showed who they are at their core when they wouldn't stand up for that young man with the brain cancer, DJ Daniels. The Democrats are living in some kind of a fabricated world where they think that we are safe in America and that nobody can come to this land and affect us. 9/11 showed that it's very simple for them just to take a plane over and destroy a building or fly into the Pentagon or whatever they want to do. If somebody wants to hurt people, it's not too hard. And in order to make that happen, thank God we have things like the FBI and Kash Patel and Dan Bongino and Pam Bondi that are protecting us and actively looking for people like this. But these people do slip through the cracks. And when you open up your border and let 20 million people in without vetting them, who knows how many people we have in our country with bad intentions.
But I'm just going to come out and say it, because our intel community has, and our military and all of politics, has basically been so wrung out on DEI training that they're afraid to even suggest anyone with radical Muslim views might actually carry out action on radical Muslim views.
It's not a very hard concept to grasp, but somehow the Democrats just don't understand it. And I don't think they ever will. But be safe out there, because they've made this world a lot more dangerous for all of us. And that's all I got for you guys this week. Thank you for joining me. Please stop by 4547blog.com, and we'll see you guys next week on Rumble. We go live at 8 p.m. Eastern. Have a good week.
We will make America strong again. We will make America proud again. We will make America safe again. And we will make America great again. God bless you and good night. I love you.
President Donald Trump knows how to make America great. Do from strength or get